The sun hung low over Oak Ridge Heights, painting long shadows across rows of trimmed hedges and quiet cul-de-sacs. Jalen King walked alone, backpack slung over one shoulder, hoodie half-zipped, Air Force Ones brushing against the pavement with every step. 16, tall for his age, and unmistakably out of place. He wasn't doing anything, just walking home, but that was enough. A patrol car slowed behind him. White cruiser, dark tint. Jalen didn't turn around. He felt it before he saw it, like a cold draft against his back. The car crept beside him, window down. A face leaned out, square-jawed, fresh haircut, mirrored sunglasses. "Where you heading, son?" Jalen stopped, removed one earbud. "Heading home, sir. You live here?" "Yes." "Where exactly?" "Cedar Street, number 1742. The man stepped out, tall, built like someone who never left basic training. "Name's Officer Grayson. New to this district. Let's see some ID. "I've only got my school one," Jalen said carefully. "Don't have a license yet." Grayson gestured to the bag. "It in there?" "Yes, sir." "Then go ahead and get it. Slow." Jalen nodded and crouched, opening his backpack like it held glass. The contents spilled in sequence. Calculus book, graphing notebook, basketball jersey, apple. Nothing suspicious. Nothing at all. Grayson didn't budge. "What's your dad do?" The question hit differently. The tone wasn't curious. It was bait. "He's military," Jalen replied, standing up. "Special Forces." Grayson's expression cracked into a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "Special Forces, huh? That's original. What is he? Navy SEAL? Delta?" Jalen didn't answer. The words weren't meant for him. "Sure he's not special delivery? Some ghost story you made up to feel tough?" The officer chuckled to himself. "Kid like you? I figured your old man ran off years ago." Jalen stared at a spot over Grayson's shoulder. No emotion, no reply. Across the street, behind a red maple tree, a girl raised her phone. Maya Thompson. Classmate. Quiet type. She didn't say anything. Just recorded. Grayson circled once, slowly, like he was waiting for the kid to make a wrong move. Jalen kept his stance tight, centered, calm, just like his dad had taught him. "Go on then," the officer said at last. "Let's not waste taxpayer time." Jalen packed up silently. He slung the bag over his shoulder and walked forward. Steady, never rushing, never looking back. Grayson watched him disappear around the bend, jaw flexing. A second patrol car pulled up. "You know who that is?" Grayson asked the other officer. "Nope. Should I?" "Kid says his dad's Special Forces. Something's off. Look into it." "Seriously?" Grayson's voice dropped. "Just check. Something's not adding up." Meanwhile, Jalen walked the last few blocks home. The sun was dipping now, casting the trees in gold. His key turned in the lock. He stepped inside to lemon-scented wood polish and the hum of silence. He didn't rush to tell his mom. Instead, he stood at the dining table, looking at a family photo. His mom smiling, him as a toddler on his father's shoulders. No uniform. Just the three of them at a barbecue, laughing. The quiet stretched. Grayson sat in his cruiser typing Isaiah King into the state military records system. What came back were black bars, redacted lines, missing details, clearance codes he didn't recognize. He leaned back, unsettled. Down the street, Maya saved the video to her cloud, double encrypted. And 3 miles away, in a secure base 2 states over, a classified file had just been accessed by an unauthorized user. The system flagged it. Someone was coming home. By the time Jalen reached his locker the next morning, the school felt different. Eyes lingered longer than usual. Whispers clung to hallways like fog. Something had shifted, and Jalen felt it in his chest. "Jalen!" Maya's voice came from behind him, steady and direct. They weren't close, just shared history and one science lab. But her tone said this wasn't casual. She gestured toward the band hall. "We need to talk." They slipped away from the crowd, standing just outside the range of watchful teachers and morning gossip. "I saw it," she said. "Yesterday. That cop. I filmed it." Jalen blinked. "Why?" Maya shrugged. "Because it was wrong. My dad's a civil rights attorney. He says if they can lie about it, you film it. Every time." He didn't know what to say. Part of him wanted to thank her. Another part hated that someone had witnessed it at all. "I won't share it unless you want me to," she added. "Thanks." He hesitated, then asked, "You saw the whole thing?" "Enough to be disgusted," Maya replied. "And, was it true? What you said about your dad?" He studied her face. There was no mockery in her eyes. No curiosity for the sake of gossip. "Yeah," he said softly. "It's true." She nodded once. "Okay." By lunch, the story had spread. Not the whole truth, just pieces. Twisted fragments bouncing around the cafeteria like shrapnel. Tyler Wilson swaggered over with his usual gang of smirking shadows. "Yo, King," he called loud enough for half the room to hear. "Heard you told that new cop your dad's a Navy SEAL or something. Bet he's the one who killed bin Laden, right?" Jalen didn't even look up from his sandwich. Tyler leaned closer. "My dad says your old man's probably flipping burgers somewhere." Jalen glanced at him, slow and calm. "Your dad's still mad he got passed over for that diversity award, huh?" The smile on Tyler's face froze, then vanished. His crew snorted awkward laughter. Tyler turned on his heel and walked away. Maya slid into the seat across from him moments later. "You have a gift," she said. "For what?" "Turning idiots into silence." She popped a chip in her mouth. They ate quietly, comfortable now. Meanwhile, across town, Grayson wasn't letting go. He spent the day checking local records. Angela's employment was clean, no red flags. Jalen's school record? Solid. But Isaiah King? Nothing but vague references, no job listings, no military branch noted. And when Grayson tried accessing his federal file, he hit a digital wall, classified. His palms tightened on the keyboard. Back in his cruiser, he circled through Cedar Street again. The King home looked ordinary. Neat yard, clean porch, too perfect. He asked a few neighbors, same pattern. Nice family, quiet, polite. No one really knew the man of the house. They said military like it was a rumor, not a fact. That night he parked a block away, waited, watched. At 11:42 p.m., the lights went out. By midnight, he was creeping through the side yard, flashlight off, staying low. He didn't know that 3 houses down, someone else was watching him through a scope, speaking into a phone with a voice cold as winter. "We've got unauthorized surveillance at the King residence. Confirmed. Officer Bradley Grayson, standing by for protocol escalation." Inside the house, Angela King lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Another silent call. Another tightening knot in her chest. She reached into her nightstand, pulled the secure phone from beneath the Bible. Message sent. He's circling again. Response. Understood. Alerting command. Jalen slept, unaware of the lines being drawn around him. But across town, a redacted name had just activated a protocol the officer didn't even know existed. Because Isaiah King wasn't just special forces. He was off-grid, and Grayson had just become his problem. The King family's backyard sat quiet beneath the morning sun. Modest, clean, bordered by a neat garden bed and trimmed hedges. Nothing out of place. Nothing to hint at what Officer Bradley Grayson was about to do. He moved along the fence line like a man who believed himself invisible. One glance to make sure no neighbors were watching, then a crouch beside the shed. He tested the door. Locked. No surprise. From his jacket, Grayson drew a thin metal pick, the kind he wasn't supposed to carry. It took less than 10 seconds for the old latch to click open. Inside, the shed smelled of cut grass and motor oil. Garden rakes hung in perfect alignment. A push mower sat in the corner. Paint cans and bags of seed lined the shelves. All too tidy. All too ordinary. He scanned the room once more, eyes settling on the top shelf where a stack of clay pots leaned awkwardly. Behind them, just visible, was a sliver of metal. He reached up, strained, and pulled down a weathered tin lockbox. It was dented, scuffed, the kind of container that held secrets rather than tools. A rusted padlock hung from the latch, but it wasn't actually fastened. Grayson exhaled through his nose and flipped it open. Inside lay 3 things. A fistful of foreign bills, a notebook with pages scribbled in shorthand he couldn't begin to decipher, and at the bottom, a single photograph. He froze. The picture showed Isaiah King, decades younger, dressed in desert fatigues. Beside him, 3 other men, faces half blurred in shadow, no insignia, no name tags, just eyes. Isaiah's stare was clear, sharp, unnervingly steady. Grayson's grip tightened on the photo. That stare, it was the same one Jalen gave him. Cold, measured, unafraid. He snapped a few pictures with his phone, then replaced everything just as it was. Back outside, he slipped into his car and studied the image again, zooming in on Isaiah's face. The longer he looked, the more unsettled he became. "Who the hell are you?" he muttered. At the precinct that afternoon, Angela King didn't knock. She stormed through the front doors with her badge from the hospital still swinging from her neck and fury in her eyes. "I need a supervisor," she said, her voice sharp, unwavering. Officer Jenkins blinked. "Ma'am, is there—" "My shed was broken into this morning. I have the footage. I know exactly who did it." She dropped her phone on the counter. The screen showed crystal-clear video. Grayson crouching, picking the lock, slipping inside. Silence. Jenkins swallowed. "I'll get Sergeant Wallace." Angela didn't wait. When Wallace appeared, she launched straight in. "One of your officers, Grayson, has been harassing my son for days. Now he's breaking onto my property. You want my statement? Get ready." Wallace's face shifted the moment she said the name, Isaiah. Something behind the eyes flickered. Recognition. Maybe even fear. But he nodded quickly. "Let's take this to my office." Back home that evening, Angela recounted the story to Jalin while dinner simmered on the stove. Her hands trembled as she poured a glass of water. Then her phone buzzed. She checked the screen and froze. The message was simple. Complaint flagged. Stand by. No name, no number. But she understood exactly who it came from. She deleted it instantly. Jalin noticed. "Everything okay?" "Just a work thing," she said too fast, forcing a smile. Across town, Maya Thompson leaned forward at her computer, surrounded by dim light and open tabs. Military databases, veteran forums, old redacted reports. It had become an obsession. And now she had something. In one obscure forum, buried beneath decades of declassified chatter, she found it. Extraction successful. Led by King. Heavy opposition. Team returned intact. Another post spoke of the silencers. A unit so shadowed their records barely existed. Ghosts, one Marine called them. In and out before you ever knew they were there. One more hit. A partial signature from a mission file. A. King, Unit 8, Silencer Operations. It wasn't proof, but it was close enough to confirm what Jalin had said. Her father knocked gently, poking his head into the room. "Maya? Still up?" She quickly closed her tabs. "Just finishing something." James Thompson studied her for a moment. "You're looking into that cop again, aren't you? And the boy?" She hesitated. "Maybe." He sighed. "Listen to me. If you're right about who his father is, you're wading into something deeper than you think. Be smart. If Angela King needs a lawyer, tell her to call me. Otherwise, stay back." He left the room. Maya sat in silence for a moment, then reopened her tabs. Her finger hovered over one final note. A post with a timestamp and a code name. Ghost. No details. Just one word. But enough to know someone else was already watching. In Oak Ridge Heights, the air grew thick with something unsaid. Grayson, temporarily benched, still roamed the neighborhood in his personal car. Neighbors whispered about black SUVs idling in the dark. The King house stood silent, yet every movement seemed watched. And the boy? The one Grayson mocked? He walked through it all like nothing had changed. But something had. And deep down, Grayson knew. It wasn't just the boy he'd underestimated. It was the man who'd taught him to walk with silence and never flinch. Isaiah King. The tension in the precinct shifted the moment he stepped through the door. Isaiah King didn't speak right away. He didn't have to. Every officer near the lobby felt it. Something coiled and precise, walking upright in denim and silence. Angela saw him first, a breath of relief breaking across her face. Their eyes met briefly before he turned to the front desk. "I'm here for my son," he said, calm as the ocean before a storm. "Jalin King." The desk sergeant blinked twice before finding his voice. Yes sir. May I see some ID?" Isaiah reached into his back pocket, pulled out a wallet, and slid forward a card edged in red. A military identification no rookie desk officer mistook. The sergeant stiffened, eyes scanning it faster than his training taught him. "Give me one moment," he said, already turning to fetch the sergeant. From the hallway, Paul Wallace emerged mid-sentence, arguing with Grayson. But the instant he saw Isaiah, his words stopped. His posture changed. He knew those red borders. He knew what they meant. "Mr. King," Wallace said, offering his hand, his voice measured. "Sergeant Wallace, there's been a misunderstanding with your son." "Has there?" Isaiah replied, taking the handshake without warmth. His eyes slid toward Grayson, who stood just behind, poorly hiding the mix of disbelief and defiance in his eyes. "Your son was brought in over a reported disturbance," Wallace said quickly. "But no evidence supported the claim. He's being released." "I want to see him," Isaiah said. It wasn't a request. "Of course," Wallace nodded. As they moved down the corridor, Grayson stepped forward. "Hold on, he's still being processed." "Stand down, Grayson," Wallace snapped. "You're suspended. Or have you forgotten already?" Isaiah stopped. He turned to face Grayson fully, scanning the man the way predators assess threats. Not with anger, but calculation. Calm, cold, calculation. I understand, Isaiah said conversationally, that you've taken an interest in my family. Grayson tried to keep his footing. Just doing my job, keeping the community safe. By picking locks? By harassing minors? Isaiah's tone never wavered, but the temperature in the hallway dropped. He reached into his coat pocket and handed Wallace a sealed document. This is a formal request. All records tied to Officer Grayson's conduct toward my family, including today. It's already filed federally. I'm just delivering a courtesy copy. Wallace paled slightly. He recognized the seals. They reached higher than any badge in that station ever would. We'll cooperate fully, Wallace said. Isaiah nodded once and turned away, leaving Grayson simmering in impotent rage. Inside the holding room, Jalin looked up, expecting to see his tormentor. Instead, it was his father. The composure he'd practiced cracked for just a moment. Relief flickered across his face before he reined it in. Dad. Isaiah crossed the room in 3 steps, a hand settling on Jalin's shoulder with the weight of both reassurance and power. You all right? I'm good. Let's go. Angela joined them as they exited. Mother, father, son. A unified front. Silent but formidable, walking through the station like a closing rank. Grayson watched them go, humiliated and furious, knowing something had shifted, and not in his favor. That night, while the King family shared their first dinner together in months, Grayson sat hunched over his home computer. He still had contacts. One owed him a favor, a big one. It took hours and whispered promises, but eventually a file loaded. Isaiah King. Most of it blacked out. The parts that weren't made Grayson's blood run cold. Deployments to unnamed locations. Operations with no timestamps. And at the top, flashing in all caps. Active classified operative. Not retired. Not dormant. Active. Grayson leaned back in his chair, breath shallow. What the hell are you, King? Across town, Angela poured tea that had gone cold. Isaiah sat across from her. How bad? She asked. Contained, he replied. But Grayson's the kind who acts before he thinks. He broke into the shed. He found your decoy? Isaiah nodded. I left the lock undone on purpose. I needed to see what he'd do. And now you know. He gave a small nod. The worst kind of man. The kind that's scared and doesn't want to admit it. Angela's brow tightened. He won't stop, will he? Number he already tapped restricted databases. She looked alarmed. I was alerted, Isaiah said calmly. Protocol. I know every step he's taken. And now? We watch, we wait. He'll slip. Angela exhaled slowly. He had Jalin cuffed, in front of his friends. Isaiah's jaw twitched. And Grayson will regret that. Deeply. At that same hour, 2 blocks from Grayson's home, a dark sedan sat in silence. Inside, a figure peered through high-powered optics, tracking Grayson's movements as he stepped out his door. He poked the wrong ghost, the figure murmured into a secure mic, lowering the scope, and he doesn't even know it yet. Meanwhile, Isaiah moved like a shadow through backyards and alleyways, taking the long route home. Every blind spot memorized, every camera avoided. When he entered his house through a hidden side door, Angela didn't even flinch. You're early, she said. Had to be. How bad? Isaiah poured himself a glass of water. I pulled out mid-mission. That alone raised flags. They'll come asking? From DC to down here, Isaiah confirmed. Angela met his eyes. But your son needed you. Isaiah nodded once. Later that night, as Jalin slept, Isaiah stood quietly in the doorway, watching. He hadn't been home much these past years, but the boy had grown strong anyway. Steady. His own kind of warrior. When Jalin stirred and saw his father, he sat up, voice soft. Dad? Hey, son. They talked. About power. About restraint. About how sometimes the greatest show of strength is silence. Before leaving, Isaiah asked, That officer, Grayson, tell me everything. The next morning, Isaiah returned to the Oak Ridge Heights Police Department. Not as a victim, not to accuse, not to threaten. He came to make himself known. Clearly. Officially. At the front desk, he gave only his name. Within minutes, he was seated in the chief's office. Chief Williams, a man usually composed, looked deeply uneasy. Mr. King, he began. Let me say that Officer Grayson's conduct does not represent our department's values. Isaiah's voice was calm. Controlled. Officers make choices. What defines an institution is how it responds to them. Williams shifted in his seat, Isaiah's gaze steady on him. The investigation into the shed break-in is ongoing. Grayson remains suspended. And my son's illegal arrest? There seems to have been a misunderstanding. Isaiah leaned forward slightly. Is that what we call false imprisonment now? Misunderstanding? The chief had no answer. Isaiah stood and handed over a plain white card. If that man contacts my family again, you call me. Day or night. After he left, Chief Williams stared at the card. Nothing but a name and number. But he felt the weight of it. Just that morning, he'd received a call from someone at the Pentagon. The voice had been calm, cold. Do you know who Isaiah King is? The man had asked. Now, Williams understood. He didn't. Not fully. But he was starting to grasp the depth of what had arrived in his town. That same night, in a dark alley behind the King residence, Grayson crouched beside 4 off-duty officers. None of them wore uniforms. None had warrants. This wasn't sanctioned, just obsession and rage. Just intel, Grayson whispered. In, document, out. They nodded, armored in borrowed tactical gear, their holstered weapons barely legal. But what Grayson didn't know, couldn't know, was that the school event he thought the Kings were attending had been a trap. The intel? Planted. Inside a small command post 3 blocks away, Isaiah watched them on a laptop. Hidden cameras tracked their every move. Right on time, he muttered, watching Grayson pick the lock and slip into the house. For 20 minutes they ransacked the home, but found nothing. Just family stuff, one officer muttered. Keep looking, Grayson snapped, desperation mounting. They didn't see the quiet retaliation already unfolding. Isaiah had disabled their vehicles, subtly, surgically. When they stepped outside, every engine failed to turn over. Grayson kicked his tire, eyes wide with panic. He knew, he breathed. He knew we were coming. He was right. From his outpost, Isaiah placed a call. Not to local law enforcement. That would be too easy. He called Washington. It's King, he said. I'm calling in that favor. By morning, the fallout hit like a shockwave. Internal Affairs launched a formal investigation. Suspensions became terminations. Criminal charges followed. But Grayson, cornered, shamed, did the unthinkable. He showed up at Oakage High. No badge, no authority. Just blind determination. He found Jalin in the cafeteria. You're under arrest, he said, grabbing the teen's arm in front of stunned students and staff. On what charge? Jalin asked, steady despite his racing pulse. Obstruction. Interfering with a federal investigation. It was all lies. Nearby, Maya Thompson started filming. This is happening live, she said, camera steady. A suspended officer is attempting to arrest Jalin King, without cause. The footage went viral in seconds. Grayson pushed Jalin into his car, unaware that a storm was forming outside. An hour later, the police station was surrounded. Students, parents, community members, all demanding answers. Isaiah arrived alone, walking straight through the crowd. Calm, centered. Chief Williams met him, face pale. This was not sanctioned. Grayson acted alone. Where is my son? In interrogation. We're handling it. Isaiah didn't wait. He moved down the hallway. Unstoppable. When he opened the door, Jalin was sitting quietly. Grayson spun at the sound. Perfect, Grayson sneered. Now we get answers. What are you hiding? Isaiah didn't look at him. He looked only at his son. You all right? Jalin nodded. Isaiah placed a folder on the table. Legal filings, surveillance footage of the break-in, evidence of abduction. You've crossed lines, Bradley, Isaiah said. Lines that don't uncross. I'm exposing the truth, Grayson shouted. You're a ghost. Running black ops right here in town. 2 federal agents entered as Grayson ranted. Do you realize who you're dealing with? One said to the chief moments later. Isaiah turned to his son. Let's go home. They walked out through a corridor of silence. Outside, the crowd erupted. Jalin emerged, free, unharmed, but changed. Maya ran to him. You okay? I am, he said, voice calm. It's over. But Isaiah knew better. Grayson had been removed, but not neutralized. That night, Grayson vanished, cut off his ankle monitor, disappeared. And Isaiah knew why. He's coming, he told Angela. For Jalin. Isaiah activated security protocols. Bulletproof glass. Reinforced locks. Panic protocols. His home became a fortress. It wasn't enough. A fake text from Maya lured Jalin toward danger. But his instincts told him it was wrong. He showed it to his father. Isaiah checked the number. Not Maya. Minutes later, smoke filled the house. Gas canisters. Flashbangs. A figure burst through the side door, Grayson in tactical gear. He grabbed Jalen, gun pressed to his head. "Back off," he shouted. "Nobody follows. He comes with me." Isaiah stopped cold, hands raised. "Take me instead." "No," Grayson hissed. "You're too dangerous." He dragged Jalen into a waiting vehicle and vanished. Isaiah pressed a device on his wrist. "Blackbird compromised. Alpha protocol. Begin tracking." Angela gripped his arm. "Tell me you can find him." "He's wearing the watch," Isaiah replied. "We'll find him." Miles away, Jalen was bound in a warehouse. Grayson ranted, unraveling before the teen's calm stare. "You're scared of him," Jalen said softly. "I'm not scared," Grayson snapped. But he was. Isaiah arrived, silent, swift. His voice echoed from all directions. "You have my son, Bradley." "Show yourself," Grayson screamed. Isaiah stepped from the shadows, hands empty. "If I wanted to hurt you," he said, "you'd never see it coming." Grayson raised his gun. "Don't," Isaiah warned. "Don't be that man." Grayson lunged, gun swinging toward Jalen. Isaiah moved like wind, a single blow. The gun hit the floor. A flurry of strikes, precision, non-lethal. Grayson collapsed, disarmed, disgraced. SWAT stormed in moments later. Isaiah raised his hands calmly. "We're good. He needs medical care." As Grayson was taken away, raving about conspiracies, Jalen and Isaiah walked out together. Cameras captured it all. The decorated ghost no longer in shadows. The boy who had stood in fire without flinching. Weeks later, Isaiah stood at a podium in town hall. "The real threat," he said, "isn't in shadows. It's in silence." He called for reform, not revenge. And the town listened. The police chief resigned. Oversight boards were formed. The community changed. Jalen returned to school not as a target, but a voice. Maya's video was taught in classrooms across the country. And Isaiah? He stayed. He opened a center, a haven for youth, for teaching, for truth. The waitlist grew. Even his former skeptics joined him. And one day, James Wilson brought a gift. A newspaper from 1968. A photo of his brother, the first black cadet at a military school. "First steps are the hardest," James said. Isaiah smiled. "Then we're walking in the right direction." That night, as the Kings sat down for dinner, Jalen shared a message from school. "They asked me to speak at graduation." "What did you say?" Angela asked. "I said yes. Dad always said, real strength isn't loud. It's knowing who you are when no one believes you." Isaiah met his son's eyes, and in them, saw the man Jalen was becoming. As night fell over Oak Ridge Heights, children rode bikes down the block. Neighbors waved. No sideways looks. No suspicion. Just community. From a quiet outpost, somewhere in the world, Isaiah's old comrades watched. Still protecting. Still ready. Because when systems fail, family doesn't. And when injustice calls, a king answers. Like, subscribe, and never forget. Sometimes the strongest warriors live in the quietest homes.